Hey guys, let's find some zeros here. So we have this problem, and we're going to go about finding the zeros. So the first thing that I am going to want to do here is I'm going to put this in my calculator. I'm looking to see if I could possibly take a GCF out of this. It does not look like it. So I'm going to come here to my calculator. I'm going to hit y equals, and I'm going to go ahead and enter this. So 14 X button, then this little caret button for my exponent to the fifth, plus 55 x to the fourth, minus 46 x cubed, minus 389 x squared, minus 364x, plus 28. And let's just make sure we put that in correctly. Okay, so we're going to hit graph, and we're going to see what this looks like. All right, so interesting. Okay, so it looks like I might have a 0 at -2, between -2, -3, between +2, +3. I'm going to look at my table, and let's see. So second graph will give me the table. And, oh, there we go. So -2, 0. So that means I have a 0 at -2. So I only need one to get started. So I'm going to start with that. All right. Go a little bit thicker here. All right, so I'm going to take this -2, and I'm going to set this up. I am reducing this using synthetic division. I think that's a little too much. Hold on. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to go 14, 55, -46, -389, -364, and 28. Okay, so I'm going to pull the 14 down. I'm going to do 14 times -2. That's going to give me a -28. Then I'm going to do 55 minus 28, and that's going to give me 27. Then 27 times -2 is going to give me a -54, which is going to give me -46 minus 54, -100. -100 times -2 gives me a +200. -389 plus 200 gives me a -189. -189 times -2 will give me a +378. -364 plus 378 gives me +14. And 14 times -2 gives me -28. And then I get 0. Okay, so I've got 0 here, which means this divides out correctly. So this is one of my zeros. And I've reduced this now from a 5th degree polynomial to a 4th degree. So this is 14x to the 4th plus 27x cubed minus 100x squared minus 189x plus 14 equals 0. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find another 0. So I'm going to enter this in my calculator. Y equals, clear, 14x to the 4th plus 27x cubed minus 100x squared minus 189x plus 14. Graph. So let's see if we got another 0 here. It looks like I'm going to -2 again, which looks like that's going to be okay because remember from the previous graph, we touched -2 and turned around, which if we have an even multiplicity, so if we occur twice, that's what's going to happen. So if I go back to my table, I've got that -2 again. So now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to divide out the -2, but this time with my quartic function here. So 14, 27, -100, -189, 14. All right, so I'm going to pull this down. 14 times negative 2 gives me a negative 28. That's going to give me negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2 gives me a positive 2. Negative 100 plus 2 gives me a negative 98. Negative 98 times negative 2 is going to give me positive 196. Negative 189 plus 196 is going to give me positive 7. 7 times negative 2, negative 14. 14 minus 14, 0. Okay, so now this is the function I'm looking at. 14x cubed minus 1x squared minus 98x plus 7 equals 0. Okay, so now I can try and find another 0 and divide this out synthetically, but looking at this problem, it looks like I can actually factor this using grouping. So typically I'd pull another 0 out, so I've got negative 2 twice, and then I'd do the quadratic formula, which you can still do. But if you can factor, go ahead and do that. So here I can split this, and I can pull an x squared out of each of these. Okay, so it's going to give me x squared, and then 14x cubed divided by x squared is going to give me a 14x. And then 1x squared divided by x squared is just going to give me 1, and it's a negative there. And then on the other side, I can pull a 7 out. But because I want these to be the same, I'm going to pull a negative 7 out. So negative 98 divided by negative 7 is going to give me a positive 14x. And 7 divided by negative 7 gives me a negative 1. So now I've got my two factors. I've got x squared minus 7 and 14x minus 1. So now I'm going to set each of these equal to 0 and solve. So let's see. I'm going to try and pull this down. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so x squared minus 7 equals 0. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. That's going to give me x squared equals 7. I'm going to take the square root, opposite of squaring. When I take the square root, I have to do the plus or minus. So I'm going to get x equals plus or minus the square root of 7. And then 14x minus 1. I'm going to pull the 1, add it to both sides. 14x equals 1, divide by 14. I've got 1/14. So I have 5 zeros because we started with an x to the 5th. So we had this negative 2's, both of these negative 2's. We've got the 1/14, and we also have this plus or minus square root of 7. So when we're listing our solution out, okay, we want to go x equals, we've got negative 2 twice, 1/14, we've got radical 7, and negative radical 7. Now you could also, with a negative 2, you could say that is negative 2 with a multiplicity of 2 because it occurs twice. And then you could say 1/14, and then you could say plus or minus radical 7, and that should also be acceptable. Either one of these, as long as you have all 5 zeros and you just indicate that that negative 2 is going to be occurring twice.